So life is made interesting through challenges. That's what we were talking about in the previous video. Struggle creates stories in our lives. Indeed, all story derives from struggle. And do we really want to live in a world, therefore, where our lives don't have any stories in them and where we don't have the interest that challenges actually brings to our day-to-day lives? I want to move it forward now in this video by saying that life is also made glorious through triumphing over those challenges. In fact, you don't even really need to triumph. Pierre de Coubertin, the father of the modern Olympic Games, once said, "The important thing in life is not the triumph, but the struggle. The struggle is the most important thing in life. It's key, it's core to this whole thing. The essential thing is not to have conquered, but to have fought well. To spread these principles is to build up a strong, more valiant, more scrupulous and generous humanity." He thought that there was something in the struggle itself that was good for us, that we needed, in fact, in this life. We'll talk more about what struggle does for the human character in the next episode, but I was first made aware of that quote while watching the film Eddie the Eagle. Eddie the Eagle is the true story of a British ski jumper who is easily the worst competitor in the 1988 Winter Olympic field. However, despite coming a distant dead last, Eddie the Eagle captured the hearts of the world that year because they saw in this person this determination to struggle well against the hardships of life and to fight adversity with all of his being. That was so winsome for people looking on at his story. He had bodily frailties as a child.
I was in the hospital for a year when I was a kid. All the doctors said I should give up sports.
His eyesight wasn't so great and he needed bottle lens eyeglasses. His father discouraged him at home as well.
Eddie, you are not an athlete!
The British Olympic Board were embarrassed by him and actually tried to stop him from qualifying and from going to the Olympics.
Mr. Edwards,
Your jump doesn't count.
Because you just changed the rules. Don't I have a right to represent my country?
no.
My dreams turned into a nightmare.
It's a world that doesn't want to know you.
So what's new?
He sustained severe injuries in training as well, and yet because he struggled so well in the face of all of this adversity, people fell in love with Eddie the Eagle. People didn't love him because he triumphed, they loved him simply because he fought valiantly against all of this hardship in life. He became a hero because he confronted adversity, and in that struggle we saw the best of human nature. Actually, Cool Runnings is a similar real life story. We fall in love with the Jamaican bobsled team not because they won, but because they fought adversity well. They're made glorious, in fact, not in their triumph, but in their noble struggle against the odds. And indeed, whether a hero succeeds or fails, the fact of the matter remains that if they had never experienced hardship, we would never have known who these people were. There would never have been a story to tell, and we wouldn't have known Eddie the Eagle or the Jamaican bobsled team. Very simply, if there was no such thing as hardship, there would be no such thing as heroes. Without adversity, there would be no glory. If there's to be triumph, if there's to be heroism, there must first be hardship in life. Here are some famous quotations from people trying to define what it means to be a hero, and notice how they always define it within the context of hardship or a struggle. Heroism is endurance for one moment more. To be a hero means you are willing to make a sacrifice. A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. Heroes set up blazing torches in the dark streets of life for other men to see by. Gold is tried by fire, brave men by adversity. The bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. Nothing is given to man on earth. Struggle is built into the nature of life and conflict is possible. The hero is the man who lets no obstacle prevent him from pursuing the values he has chosen. Hard times don't create heroes. It is during the hard times when the hero within us is revealed. Actually, that last quote by Bob Riley, that's my favorite one. It's not that hard times create heroes as such, it's just that you wouldn't know who the heroes were if not for hardship. It's a bit like how the darkness reveals the stars. The stars are always there above us, but you don't see them until the darkness descends. Now then, if the darkness reveals the stars, and if hardship reveals heroes, if it's adversity that pulls out the best in human nature and puts it on display for the eyes of the world, is it not possible that God is allowing darkness to prevail on this earth for a time so that, to keep the metaphor going, we might have a chance to shine in the middle of all of this darkness and be seen for who we are? You know, There are certain qualities that can only be revealed in difficult times. Qualities like bravery, courage, persistence, charity. Bravery is only possible in a world where there are things to be scared of. Persistence is only possible in a world where things can sometimes be difficult. So isn't it possible that God is allowing the darkness for a time so that our character might be revealed in the middle of it, so that we can shine in this darkness, so that we might distinguish ourselves by our actions and our response to all of this, so that we can be courageous and brave and persistent and charitable? It's the difficulties that give us a chance to demonstrate those qualities. Think of the most inspirational lives from history, and what you'll likely discover is the reason that they're so loved or revered comes down almost entirely to just one single thing: that they struggled well and distinguished themselves in the face of some adversity. There was a darkness in their time that revealed just how brightly this person could shine. Why do we know the name of William Wilberforce today, for example? Why are there schools and colleges and streets and museums and statues in this man's honour? Why does that name live on throughout the centuries? Primarily, it's because he was born into a time of darkness when the transatlantic slave trade was at its height, and it was that backdrop that provided the context by which Wilberforce's character could then be revealed and distinguished to the world. He was the one that stood up, often alone, when nobody else would, to get slavery abolished. The hardship of his time set the stage for a hero. Why do we remember William Wallace today? Again, it's because he distinguished himself and struggled well in a time of adversity for his nation. A nation was under the yoke of tyranny, and he was the one who fought well to restore freedom to Scotland, and it was the hardship of that time that set the stage for a hero. Why do we remember Winston Churchill today? Again, because of what he did during the adverse days of World War II. He distinguished himself and he struggled well against the forces of fascism and Nazism when nobody else would. The hardship of that time set the stage for a hero. And of course, there's no greater hero than Jesus himself. The world was in darkness and enslaved to sin, and Jesus distinguished himself in the middle of it by facing that adversity on the cross and paying the price to redeem the world from their sins. The hardship of the world lost in sin set the stage for this hero. Am I saying then that it was a good thing that there was a transatlantic slave trade, or tyranny for 13th century Scots, or Nazi oppression in Europe, or sin in this world, so that these four could be distinguished and could be revealed in their struggle? By all means, no. Of course it would have been better if there'd been no evil in this world to begin with, and Jesus didn't need to die and Churchill didn't need to fight World War II. But since we understand the story of the fall, and since we know that evil is here, the question that we're currently considering is why a good God decided to let the world keep on spinning in this corrupted state when such things could happen. Epicurus says that there's no possible explanations why a good God would let a fallen world keep on spinning like this. None. But I think in this example we have at least one possible reason: that as darkness reveals stars, hardship is revealing heroes. The worst situations in this life actually have the potential to bring out the best in us, the best in our qualities and character. And do we not think that heaven is watching to see who distinguishes themselves in the middle of all of this, especially in the context of a new earth still to come? The Bible makes it plain that God is watching to see how his children are reacting to the darkness around them, how faithful they are in the midst of all of these difficulties. The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth in order to strengthen those who are fully committed to him. And the Bible makes it clear that God's children are identifiable in their commitment to him because they are shining in the darkness. The Bible makes it very clear that we are saved by faith alone and not by works. The Bible is very, very clear about that. However, it's also clear that if we truly have faith, that will reveal itself in our good works. James writes, "What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith, but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says, 'Go in peace, be warm and filled,' without giving them the things that they needed for their body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. But someone will say, 'You have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I will show you my faith by my works.'" James says here that our faith is revealed by our good works and deeds and actions, especially the actions that we take in response to darkness and difficulties around us. The existence of suffering reveals those who truly have faith in Jesus, because they're the ones who are distinguishing themselves and who are rising up to meet those needs around them. The existence of hunger reveals true Christians because they'll be found offering food. Homelessness reveals true Christians because they'll be found helping out. Injustice reveals true Christians because they'll be found fighting for justice. Hurt reveals true Christians because they'll be found providing comfort, and need reveals true Christians because they'll be found offering money. True faith shows in what we do, especially in what we do in response to the darkness and difficulties around us. If we didn't have the worst in life, we would never see the best in human nature coming to the fore. Our best, most inspirational, most loving, brave, kind acts would really have no reason for being. And remember, God is watching. The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth to see who is stepping up in the darkness. Actually, Jesus spoke about this in a very similar way. He talked about the final judgment at the end of the world and says, in those days he will divide humanity into two distinct groups. To the group on his right, he will welcome them into heaven, saying, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we do all of those things? And the king will answer them, truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me. Jesus then says to the group on his left that they did not respond to the need and the difficulties and the darkness in this way, and so they will go away to eternal punishment. Now, I have to emphasize here that Jesus' message is not that we are saved by works. We are not saved by works, we are saved by faith alone. And that's very, very important to remember. But if we have true faith, and if we are truly saved, that can't help but reveal itself in our works. We will be found distinguishing ourselves in the middle of all this darkness. And could it be, therefore, that God is allowing darkness for a time on this earth so that we have a chance to distinguish ourselves in this way? Could it be that hardship is being allowed for a moment to provide the context by which God's true children can actually be revealed? The Bible seems to suggest that those who distinguish themselves on this earth will be honoured on the new earth. Jesus tells a parable of a master who goes away for a long time, leaving his servants with responsibilities and in control of his resources. After returning, the master then judges what the servants have done in his absence, and he rewards each of them accordingly. He says to the ones that have distinguished themselves, well done, you are a good servant, you have been faithful with the little I entrusted you, so you will be the governor of a certain amount of cities as your reward. The servant who multiplied his resources by 5 times gets 5 cities, and the one who multiplied his resources by 10 times gets 10 cities. Now, in Revelation 21, the Bible talks about a new Jerusalem being the capital city of the new earth. It says, the nations will walk in its light, and the kings of the world will enter the city in all their glory. So the new earth will have kings and governors that will go in and out of the new capital of the new earth. If we put all of these verses together, then we get the impression that God may be watching who distinguishes themselves on this earth so that he might reward them with key roles on the new earth. Clearly there's a flaw in Epicurus' logic. He thought that there was no possible way that a good God could allow darkness to exist in this world. But I think we're beginning to see that there are potentially some valid reasons why he could. It's in difficulties that we see the best in human character coming to the fore. It's in the darkness that many begin to shine. It's the context for bravery, persistence, determination, courage, charity. Some of the most inspiring elements of human potential are only seen in the midst of trials and difficult times. And I guess the question for us individually then is, are we one of those who are distinguishing ourselves here in the middle of all of this? Are we shining in the darkness? Is our faith revealing itself in our response, in our works, in our deeds? Or are we merely complaining about the whole thing? All of heaven is watching for the answer.